From drinking bleach to eating tapeworms to rubbing mercury on your face, these are the health myths that would actually get you killed. Because if you thought modern wellness influencers were the first to peddle dangerous medical advice, then you haven't heard about the trusted doctors, respected scientists, and even your own grandmother, whose health tips sent people straight to the grave. We're talking about remedies so deadly they make essential oils look like actual medicine. From ancient practices that poisoned emperors, to trendy cleanses that shut down your organs, to mainstream advice that's killing people right now as you read this. Yeah, history is littered with corpses who just wanted to feel better. So buckle up, because these aren't just ineffective home remedies. These are the health myths that turned medicine cabinets into morgues. Because for most of human history, everyone knew the best way to treat a fever was simple: starve it. You've heard the saying, feed a cold, starve a fever. Your grandmother probably told you that. Maybe your mom swore by it. And for centuries, doctors agreed that when someone's temperature spiked, you absolutely should not give them food. The logic seemed bulletproof. A fever meant your body was burning too hot, so adding fuel would make the fire worse. Medical texts from the 1700s and 1800s explicitly instructed physicians to withhold food from fever patients. Some even restricted water. So what happened? People died. A lot of people. During the typhoid outbreaks of the 19th century, tens of thousands of fever patients were deliberately starved on doctors' orders. Their bodies, already struggling to fight infection, were denied the calories they desperately needed. Dehydration made everything worse. Mortality rates stayed catastrophically high. The irony is brutal. The fever wasn't the killer, the treatment was. Civil War hospital records show that fever patients on starvation protocols died at significantly higher rates than those who were fed against medical advice. One army surgeon later admitted that the medical establishment's insistence on fasting for fevers, and I quote, killed more men than rebel bullets. Yeah, doctors were so confident in starving sick people that they blamed the patients when they died, not the protocol. It wasn't until the early 1900s that medical science finally figured out what should have been obvious. Your immune system needs energy to fight infection. Withholding calories is like sending soldiers into battle without ammunition. But by then, generations had died following trusted medical advice that was exactly backwards. And if you thought starving fever patients was bad, wait until you hear about the medical treatment that was literally just draining people's blood until they died. Because bloodletting wasn't some medieval superstition. It was the gold standard medical treatment recommended by the most respected physicians in the world for over 2,000 years. If you were sick, injured, or just feeling off, doctors had one solution: cut you open and drain your blood. The theory sounded reasonable. Ancient physicians believed the body contained 4 vital fluids. When these got out of balance, you got sick. Too much blood? That caused fevers, inflammation, headaches, everything. So the cure was obvious: remove the excess. Doctors used lancets to slice open veins, usually in the arm or neck. They'd collect the blood in bowls, sometimes draining a pint or more in a single session. The sicker you were, the more blood they took. And people died, thousands upon thousands. Bloodletting didn't just fail to help, it actively made everything worse. Losing that much blood triggers shock, drops your blood pressure, weakens your immune system, and leaves you vulnerable to infection. The most famous victim? George Washington. In December 1799, Washington developed a throat infection. Painful, yes, but treatable with rest and fluids. Instead, his doctors bled him 4 times in less than 24 hours, draining nearly half his total blood volume. That's around 5 pints from a 6-7-year-old man already struggling to breathe. Washington died that same day. His physicians later wrote that they, and I quote, applied the necessary treatment with all possible diligence. We bled him to death and called it medicine. Medical records from the 1700s and 1800s show that bloodletting was the go-to treatment for pneumonia, tuberculosis, yellow fever, cholera. Hospitals kept detailed logs of how much blood they drained, as if higher volumes indicated better care. Yeah, They measured success by how close they brought you to bleeding out. It wasn't until the mid-1800s that statistical analysis finally proved what should have been obvious. Patients who weren't bled had significantly higher survival rates. One French physician compared outcomes for hundreds of pneumonia patients and found that bloodletting increased mortality by nearly 30%. But even then, change came slowly. Doctors had built entire careers on bloodletting. Admitting it was wrong meant admitting they'd been killing patients for generations. By the time the practice finally fell out of favor in the early 1900s, conservative estimates suggest bloodletting had killed more than 1 million people. The founding father of America bled to death by his own doctors. Millions of patients killed by a treatment that had zero medical benefit. All because trusted authorities refused to question their own deadly assumptions. But if you thought draining blood was the worst thing doctors recommended, wait until you hear about the medicines that were literally just straight-up poison. Because for centuries, if you wanted to look fashionable, feel energized, or cure a headache, the answer was simple: mercury. Yeah, literal mercury. The same toxic heavy metal that makes thermometers a hazmat situation. People rubbed it on their skin, swallowed it in pills, and mixed it into cosmetics, all on doctors' orders. The appeal made sense at the time. Mercury had this mesmerizing, liquid silver appearance that seemed almost magical. It killed bacteria in lab tests, so physicians assumed it would kill diseases inside the body too. Got syphilis? Mercury rub. Constipated? Mercury pills. Want smoother, whiter skin? Mercury face cream. And it worked, sort of. Mercury did lighten skin by literally destroying the top layers of your epidermis. The problem was that mercury is a neurotoxin that accumulates in your organs, slowly poisoning you from the inside out. People didn't die immediately, which made the connection hard to spot. Mercury poisoning is insidious. It builds up over months and years, causing tremors, memory loss, kidney failure, and eventually death. The rich died faster because they could afford more mercury. Wealthy European women in the 1700s and 1800s used mercury-laden face powders and skin creams daily to achieve that coveted pale complexion. High society beauty standards literally demanded you poison yourself. Upper-class men took mercury pills for everything from indigestion to impotence, sometimes consuming the stuff for decades. One of the most infamous examples was Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. Obsessed with immortality, he consumed mercury-based elixirs every single day, believing they would make him live forever. Instead, historians now believe mercury poisoning drove him insane and killed him at age 49. Medical records from the 1800s describe patients with, and I quote, violent trembling of the limbs, rotting gums, loss of teeth, and delirium. Doctors called it mercurial disease, but kept prescribing mercury anyway. Hatmakers were especially screwed. They used mercury compounds to treat felt for top hats, breathing in the fumes for hours every day. The neurological damage was so common it gave us the phrase, mad as a hatter. Yeah, the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland wasn't just quirky. He was suffering from occupational mercury poisoning that was slowly destroying his brain. The cosmetics industry was just as bad. Products like Fowler Solution contained not just mercury, but also arsenic, another deadly poison marketed as a beauty treatment. Women applied this toxic cocktail to their faces daily, watching their skin improve while their organs silently failed. Researchers examining hair samples from Victorian-era Europeans found mercury levels 50 to 100 times higher than what's considered safe today. Aristocratic women had the highest concentrations because they used the most cosmetics. It took until the early 1900s for governments to start regulating mercury in medicine and cosmetics. The FDA banned most mercury-based beauty products in the 1970 seconds. Emperors, aristocrats, and working-class people, all slowly poisoned by a miracle cure that was actually just a shiny, liquid death sentence. But if you thought traditional poisons were bad, wait until you hear about the health advice that parents trusted with their babies' lives. Because in the 1950 seconds, if you were a new mother worried about feeding your baby, doctors, hospitals, and major corporations had a message for you. Formula is better than breast milk. Scientific, modern, superior. And if you believed them, your baby might have died. This wasn't some fringe theory. This was mainstream medical advice backed by pharmaceutical companies, endorsed by pediatricians, and promoted in hospitals worldwide. Nestlé led an aggressive marketing campaign in developing countries throughout the 1960 seconds and 70 seconds, distributing free formula samples to new mothers in maternity wards. They dressed sales reps in nurse uniforms. They put up billboards showing chubby, healthy babies. The pitch was irresistible. Formula was scientific, measured, modern. Breastfeeding was old-fashioned, primitive. If you really loved your baby, you'd give them the best, formula. But here's what they didn't tell you. In developing countries, most families didn't have access to clean water. They mixed formula powder with contaminated water from rivers and wells teeming with bacteria. The bottles were nearly impossible to sterilize. And because formula was expensive, mothers diluted it to make it last longer, meaning babies got less nutrition per feeding. The result was catastrophic. Babies died by the millions from diarrhea, malnutrition, and preventable infections. Conservative estimates suggest that formula marketing in the developing world contributed to the deaths of 1.5 million infants per year during the 1970 seconds. That's not a typo, 1.5 million babies. Every single year. In 1974, a report titled The Baby Killer exposed what Nestlé was doing. Investigators found that in hospitals across Africa, Asia, and Latin America, mothers were being pressured to stop breastfeeding before they even left the maternity ward. They were given just enough free formula to last until their own breast milk dried up, then they had to keep buying it. One mother in Kenya told investigators, and I quote, "The nurse said bottle feeding was healthier, more modern. She said breast milk wasn't enough, so I bought the formula, but after 3 weeks, my baby was dead. Diarrhea." This wasn't just corporate greed. This was systematic deception that destroyed the natural feeding relationship between millions of mothers and babies. Even in wealthy countries with clean water, formula marketing did damage. American mothers in the 1950 seconds and 60 seconds were told breastfeeding was lower class. Embarrassing. Hospitals separated newborns from mothers immediately and gave them formula bottles. By the 1970 seconds, only 25% of American babies were breastfed at all. The medical establishment defended formula companies for years. Pediatricians insisted formula was just as good, maybe better. They dismissed critics as anti-progress. It wasn't until the 1980 seconds that the World Health Organization finally passed regulations banning aggressive formula promotion, but enforcement was weak. Even today, formula companies spend billions on marketing that subtly undermines breastfeeding. Modern research has proven what should have been obvious. Breast milk is literally designed by evolution to be perfect nutrition for human babies. It contains antibodies that protect against infection, enzymes that aid digestion, and nutrients in exactly the right proportions. Formula is a life-saving backup for mothers who genuinely can't breastfeed. But it's not better. It was never better. Millions of babies died because corporations wanted profit and doctors wanted to look modern. Parents who loved their children were betrayed by the very institutions that were supposed to protect them. And if you thought corporate medicine couldn't get worse, wait until you hear about the wellness trends people voluntarily paid for. Because in the 2000s and 2010 seconds, a new kind of health guru emerged. Not dusty old doctors, but influencers, celebrities, and wellness bloggers promising miracle cures through detoxification and getting back to nature. And thousands who trusted them ended up in hospitals. Some died. The Master Cleanse became a celebrity obsession in the mid-2000s. Beyoncé endorsed it. Gwyneth Paltrow talked about it. The concept was simple. Drink nothing but lemon juice, maple syrup, cayenne pepper, and water for 10 to 40 days straight. No solid food. Promoters promised it would flush toxins and melt away pounds. The reality? You were literally starving yourself while your body desperately broke down muscle tissue for energy. People developed electrolyte imbalances, heart arrhythmias, and severe malnutrition. But hey, at least lemon juice won't kill you immediately. The same can't be said for colloidal silver. In the 1990 seconds and 2000s, alternative health websites promoted colloidal silver as a cure-all antibiotic that Big Pharma didn't want you to know about. Sellers claimed it could treat everything from the common cold to cancer, HIV, and diabetes. What they didn't mention was that silver is a heavy metal that permanently stains your skin blue-gray. Paul Carasson became the poster child for this disaster. He drank colloidal silver daily for over a decade. By 2008, his skin had turned a deep blue-gray color, earning him the nickname Papa Smurf in the media. He appeared on talk shows, still defending colloidal silver even as doctors warned the silver particles would never leave. Carasson died in 2013 at age 62 from pneumonia and a heart attack, conditions colloidal silver was supposed to prevent. In 2010, a British woman named Dawn Page died after doing an intensive juice cleanse to treat her eczema. She'd been consuming nothing but vegetable juice for weeks on very low calories. Instead of detoxifying, she developed severe hyponatremia. Translation: her blood sodium levels dropped so low that her brain swelled and she had a fatal seizure. She was 45 years old. And then there's raw water. In the late 2010 seconds, Silicon Valley wellness enthusiasts started paying premium prices for untreated, unfiltered spring water. Companies like LiveWater charged $36.99 for a 2.5-gallon jug of water that hadn't been disinfected in any way. The founder claimed that treating water with chlorine and fluoride was a government conspiracy. He said raw water was alive with beneficial probiotics. What it was actually alive with was bacteria, viruses, and parasites. Gastroenterologists warned that drinking untreated water could expose people to E. coli, Giardia, hepatitis A, and cholera. But Silicon Valley tech workers lined up to buy it anyway. Spoiler alert: nature absolutely can hurt you. That's why we invented water treatment. The wellness industry thrives on this fantasy that anything natural is automatically safe and anything scientific is suspicious. But arsenic is natural. Mercury is natural. Cholera is natural. The FDA estimates that Americans spend over $50 billion annually on dietary supplements and wellness products, many of which have zero proven benefits, and some of which are actively dangerous. But because they're classified as supplements, not drugs, manufacturers don't have to prove they work, or even that they're safe. So people kept buying, kept trusting, and kept ending up in hospitals, wondering why the natural remedy that promised to heal them was destroying their organs instead. But at least juice cleanses were only accidentally deadly. The next health trend involved people intentionally ingesting industrial chemicals. Because starting in the 1990 seconds and exploding in the 2010 seconds, people didn't just trust wellness influencers with cleanses and crystals. They trusted them with bleach. Actual, literal bleach. The kind you use to disinfect toilets. And they drank it. It was called MMS. Miracle Mineral Solution. Thousands of desperate people bought it, believing it could cure autism, cancer, AIDS, malaria, and pretty much every disease known to humanity. The man selling it was Jim Humble, a former Scientologist and gold prospector who claimed he discovered the miracle cure while mining in the jungle. What was this miracle substance? Sodium chlorite. When mixed with citric acid, it creates chlorine dioxide, which is industrial bleach, used to treat water and strip wood pulp. But Jim Humble and his followers insisted it was safe. They called it a sacrament of their Genesis 2 Church of Health and Healing. Translation: they created a fake church to avoid FDA regulations and sold bleach as a religious ritual. Parents gave it to their autistic children. Cancer patients drank it daily. Online forums were full of testimonials describing the protocol. Drink bleach solution multiple times per day. Increase the dose until you vomit or get diarrhea, because that meant it was working. What was actually happening? Chemical burns, severe gastrointestinal damage, organ failure. In 2009, the FDA issued a warning that MMS was, and I quote, a potent bleach used for stripping textiles and industrial water treatment, and that drinking it can cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and symptoms of severe dehydration. But the true believers didn't stop. They accused the FDA of being shills for Big Pharma. Hundreds of Facebook groups and YouTube channels kept promoting MMS, with members sharing photos of their progress. Those photos showed tissue sloughing off from intestinal walls, which promoters claimed were parasites being expelled. Nope. That was the lining of your digestive tract being chemically burned away. Sylvia Fink was one of the victims. A German woman with multiple sclerosis, she started taking MMS in 2008. Within weeks, she developed severe stomach pain and vomiting. She kept taking it, believing it was detox symptoms. By the time she sought medical help, the bleach had caused irreversible damage. She died in 2015 from complications for the children. Parents in autism communities became convinced that autism was caused by parasites, and MMS could kill those parasites. They gave their kids bleach enemas. Let that sink in. Bleach enemas for children. In 2019, Carrie Rivera, one of the most prominent MMS promoters for autism, claimed she'd helped over 500 children recover using her bleach protocol. Medical investigators found that what she was actually doing was chemically torturing children, causing them severe pain and internal injuries, while their parents thought they were helping. The Genesis 2 church leaders were finally arrested in 2020 and charged with conspiracy to defraud the United States. They'd made over $1 million selling industrial bleach to sick and desperate people. At trial, prosecutors presented evidence of at least 7 deaths directly linked to MMS consumption, though the real number is likely far higher. But here's the truly horrifying part. MMS is still being sold and promoted today. New websites pop up constantly. Private Facebook groups, with thousands of members, still share dosing instructions. Parents still give it to their children. This is happening right now. People are drinking bleach in 2024 because influencers, fake churches, and conspiracy theorists convince them that poison is medicine. 7 confirmed deaths, hundreds of hospitalizations, thousands with permanent organ damage, and the grifters who sold it made millions. If you thought bleach protocols were as bad as it could get, wait until you hear about what's trending on social media right this second. Because right now, people are scrolling through TikTok and Instagram getting medical advice that could kill them, and the algorithm is helping spread it to millions. Essential oils aren't just for making your house smell nice anymore. Multi-level marketing companies like doTERRA and Young Living have convinced hundreds of thousands of distributors that their oils can replace actual medicine. Got a bacterial infection? Thieves' oil. Cancer? Frankincense. In 2018, a Colorado woman named Tamara Lovett was convicted of criminally negligent homicide after her 7-year-old son Ryan died from a strep infection. Instead of taking him to a doctor, she treated him with lavender and peppermint oils while he suffered for 10 days. By the time paramedics arrived, the infection had caused meningitis, and he was already brain dead. The defense argued she genuinely believed essential oils would work. The prosecution pointed out that belief doesn't matter when your child dies screaming in pain. But MLM Huns kept posting on Facebook about how oils cured their families everything. Pediatricians started seeing kids with chemical burns, respiratory distress, and untreated infections because their parents chose Instagram advice over actual healthcare. Then there's the alkaline diet myth, which claims cancer can't survive in an alkaline environment, so you should only eat foods that make your body less acidic. Problem is, your body tightly regulates blood pH automatically. If your blood pH changes even slightly, you die. Like, immediately. But celebrities like Gwyneth Paltrow and Robert Young promoted alkaline water and extreme alkaline diets as cancer cures. Robert Young, who called himself a doctor despite having a fake degree from a diploma mill, convinced terminally ill patients to skip chemotherapy and try his alkaline protocol instead. Dawn Callie was one of them. Diagnosed with breast cancer in 2007, she went to Young's ranch in California, where he charged her $2,000 per day for alkaline treatments. He told her to stop conventional treatment. Her cancer spread. She died in 2010 at age 45. Young was convicted in 2017 of practicing medicine without a license, but his books are still bestsellers. his protocols still circulate on wellness blogs. And during COVID-19, social media became a cesspool of deadly health advice. People were drinking iodine solutions, taking massive doses of ivermectin meant for horses, and inhaling hydrogen peroxide mist. Poison control centers reported a 10% increase in calls related to improper use of ivermectin in 2021. People were taking doses meant for 1,200-pound horses and ending up in emergency rooms with seizures, vision problems, and severe vomiting. The FDA literally had to tweet, "You are not a horse, you are not a cow. Seriously, y'all, stop it." But people kept taking veterinary medications because Joe Rogan and conspiracy theorists told them doctors were lying. Social media platforms profit from health misinformation. Wellness influencers get millions of views promoting dangerous nonsense. The algorithm rewards engagement, not accuracy. A post claiming, "This one weird trick cures cancer," gets exponentially more shares than "Talk to your oncologist about evidence-based treatment." A 2022 study found that 52% of Americans got health information from social media, and 23% said they trusted it more than their doctors. Translation: millions of people are getting medical advice from strangers on the internet who have zero medical training and every financial incentive to lie. The wellness industry is now worth over $1.5 trillion globally. That's trillion with a T. It's bigger than the pharmaceutical industry. And unlike actual medicine, it doesn't have to prove anything works. All these modern myths are just repackaged versions of the historical ones we already covered. From starving fever patients in the 1800s to drinking bleach in 2024, the pattern is always the same. Trusted authority figures tell desperate people that the solution is simple. The desperate people believe them, and then those people die. Why does this keep happening? Because humans are wired to trust patterns that feel intuitive, even when they're dead wrong. Fever feels hot, so remove fuel. Body feels toxic, so flush it out. Disease feels unnatural, so return to nature. But medicine isn't intuitive. Your body is a biochemical system so complex that evolution spent 4 billion years figuring it out. Simple solutions to complex problems are almost always wrong. Here's how to spot deadly health myths before they kill you. Red flag number 1. Anyone who says Big Pharma is hiding the cure. If essential oils cured cancer, oncologists would use them, because oncologists also get cancer. Red flag number 2. Testimonials instead of studies. It worked for me is not evidence. People recover naturally all the time. Anecdotes are not data. Red flag number 3. The cure treats everything. If someone claims their product cures cancer, diabetes, autism, COVID, and arthritis, they're lying. Different diseases have different causes. Red flag number 4. It's natural, so it's safe. Cobra venom is natural. Arsenic is natural. Deadly nightshade is natural. Nature spent millions of years developing ways to kill you. Red flag number 5. Doctors don't want you to know. Doctors went to medical school for a decade. If there was an easier way to treat patients, they'd use it in a heartbeat. The real danger isn't just that health myths kill individuals, it's that they erode public trust in actual medicine. When people stop vaccinating their kids because of autism myths, measles outbreaks kill babies too young to be vaccinated. When people choose essential oils over antibiotics, they breed antibiotic-resistant bacteria that threaten everyone. Conservative estimates suggest that health misinformation currently kills at least 100,000 Americans per year through delayed treatment, dangerous alternative therapies, and refusal of proven interventions. That's more than died from the opioid crisis at its peak. That's a 9/11 every 11 days. Your grandmother's health advice might have been wrong. Your favorite celebrity's wellness routine might be poison. That natural remedy trending on TikTok might destroy your liver. And the person selling it to you might be a grifter with a fake degree and a compelling story. Medicine isn't perfect. Doctors make mistakes. Pharmaceutical companies prioritize profit. But evidence-based medicine is still the best tool humanity has ever developed for not dying from preventable causes. It works because it's based on testing what actually keeps people alive, instead of what feels like it should work. So, the next time someone offers you a miracle cure, ask yourself, if this really worked, why aren't hospitals using it? If this was really suppressed, how is this person still alive and selling it on Instagram? Your life, and the lives of people you love, depend on asking those questions. And there you have it, health myths that would actually get you killed. And if you thought dangerous medical advice was wild, wait until you hear about the foods that are banned in America but totally safe to eat everywhere else. From Kinder eggs, to haggis, to unpasteurized cheese, these are the most banned foods that won't actually hurt you. So click this video right here, or I'm prescribing you a mercury cleanse.